my URL. It says live here, but not on YouTube. It is waiting for you, I think. Wait, let me just. I don't see it. I don't see it. Okay.
Badri, it's been live for the last 25 seconds. Don't worry, it's live now. If you frown anymore, people will get scared. This is a good time to tell everyone to subscribe to our channel.
Okay, this is a great time to tell everyone to subscribe to our channel. It's good to see you all here, whoever is here. And yeah, and okay, so this is now I have to figure out what we're going to say. Okay, so Qusai, thanks for joining us today. This is the first half of what is now our fourth episode. It's actually a fifth episode. We had a 0th episode that we pretend was testing. And what we do here every day is every day that we're on is to spend an hour sort of encountering some aspect of ourselves, some aspect of beauty, some aspect of art, and experiencing some sensual aspect of existence and life through different kinds of mediators, including people such as yourself. And in the second half, we have a conversation which is usually a matter of civic importance in relation to stuff associated with how we live with ourselves and each other, and how we live with nature, and different efforts and configurations in that direction. So today we have in the first half of our exercise, we have Qusai, who is along with me. The two of us together founded Gather, this enterprise where we design human interactions and build communities. This was a very grandiose statement of aspiration. Qusai, your shaking on that chair is having hypnotic effects before the meditation has begun. I don't know if it's visible to everyone else, but it's like I can.
Sorry, it is a rocking chair, so it kind of lends itself to this. If it's distracting, I'll try to prevent myself from rocking.
No, then I think we are getting into mixed hypnotic arts, far more dangerous than mixed meditative arts today.
Right.
So anyway, the point of this exercise is that we are in a position to raise some money for three important causes at this point in time. The first one is social security for migrant workers. The second one is food security for the urban poor. And the third one is having more protective gear for essential caregivers, right? And this extends to kirana shop owners, barbers, literally everyone that you encounter in an urban setting. And because, I mean, the fact that the curve may or may not be bulging is irrelevant. Right now, community transmission has begun in India, and we need to be extremely watchful while we also normalize our everyday interactions. So anyway, so these are meant to be fundraisers in that towards that direction. We would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep track of the fundraising efforts. I think you should contemplate passing on whatever you might spend ordering dinner on Swiggy today, if that's what you would do one of these days, right? We don't need large acts of kindness. It's really small acts of regular kindness which can move us forward towards being able to be there for each other. So today, Qusai, we decided to start with a first workshop type thing on lawyers, artists, and others talk about law, love, and equity, right? We thought it would be interesting to see whether there could be a mediated interaction with some guidance to someone such as yourself. And yeah, so do you want to tell us a little bit about the genesis of this idea of a mixed meditative arts? And can you tell everyone that it was not invented only to have an alternative acronym for MMA or mixed martial arts? Because a lot of our events at Gather were born out of that impulse, not really some considered efforts in the direction of realizing some deeper purposes necessarily. So it's pretty interesting that we're doing this. But Qusai, so you want to tell us a little bit about what MMA is going to be all about? What's the scene?
It's kind of
for MMA or mixed martial arts.
It came. It's come out of my own practice, where I've been curious about different kinds of practice. I'm interested in movement and meditation, and kind of that intersection of meditative movement. And I've been I've studied yoga and qigong and a bunch of other things. Just other Western forms of yoga in a sense, like Feldenkrais and Alexander technique, something called gyrokinesis. all of these are exploring the mind-body connection. And as someone who was never, or as a child, I was disillusioned by religion, child and a young adult. I was drawn to some spiritual practices, and kind of I realized that what I was interested in was there's still something kind of there's like a mystical core or something to each of these different practices, spiritual practices and religious practices, which are wrapped in kind of a container of rituals or certain kinds of language and vocabulary and things like that. So I'm just trying to kind of take away the content from the container, in a sense, like in a modernist way, strip it off and see what I can learn, and which applies to all of us as humans, right? And so there's different ways we can kind of go deeper into the present, deeper into our bodies, work with the senses and things like that. And there's kind of pearls or diamonds in many different traditions. So I wanted to kind of bring that together, provide in a way kind of a taster of these different things, and also in a way I feel like it's a little like Ayurveda, where people have different doshas and stuff like that. So different things will work for different people, and how do you start understanding how to use these different techniques at different times, and and some will appeal to you, some might not appeal to you, but you're gonna get this taste of different meditative techniques. And it's also attention spans are shorter and stuff like that. So it's also how can we move between these quickly in a playful way. Okay. That was kind of the motivation.
Dude, I've always known you to be a scientific kind of fellow. Now, honestly, some of the stuff you're talking about, and often I felt like it sounds kookier than I would like. And in a certain way, it's put me in contact with the kookiness in a very positive kind of orientation. Because for me, the vehicle of meditation and the mediated practice towards inner reflection has always had this metaphorical connotation, like being able to associate with it because the imagery is interesting or it's parts of something. I don't really have a particular affiliation to the ritualistic background of whatever we end up practicing. So what's it been like for you to have a scientific mind and also curiosity on one side, and on the other side, an interest in the exotic and the arcane, so to say?
Well, I do approach it from a scientific perspective, where I'm realizing that each of the kind of rituals which sometimes accompany these kind of practices, they just kind of do a kind of setting and get you to a particular orientation of state of mind. For me, my initial forays into this in I would say the late 90s and early 2000s, where it was yoga and vipassana and practices like this. They came from, like, yoga and the asana practice came from a kind of, at least initially, from a biomechanical kind of understanding of the body. And then vipassana also, from a Buddhist perspective, it doesn't really talk about God. It just talks about there's nothing except, means it's not even a real self, right? It's just you are aware of yourself, and there's minimum rituals. There's other things which do have, I think, as you say, the exotic. It's over the years I'm more open to that. I guess part of it is to get your to switch your mind off. So like open your heart and tap into some maybe like a devotional energy. It's a little hard to say it for me. I still have mixed feelings about that kind of idea of devotion, because there's part of me which feels like under the guise of devotion or devotion to a particular person, there's a lot of exploitation, charlatans, and other things with it. But if you can learn to use this, so it's more like if you learn the vocabulary of this, it's like you're not learning, say, saying particular words, you're learning the letters and the alphabet and how to combine it together and the kind of effects of each of those. So then you can start combining them in different ways.
Having a vocabulary of experiences or different kinds of things.
Yeah, and empowering someone where, like, I feel like over the years I have empowered, and I would like to empower others to be able to combine things and use things in your own way, which is most effective to yourself. So you don't just say, I'm doing this because, my religious background or this is my spiritual guru. You kind of understand what that does for you, in what way. So they're kind of tools. It's more like a toolbox which you can use in different contexts, right? And it also has a playful aspect. I mean, I think that's a very important aspect, because when we play with it, then we are, we're kind of open to the unexpected. It's not done in a mechanical way. It's done in a kind of, in a playful way. And you kind of dive into the chaos. You don't have too many expectations, and you go with it.
Okay, that's a because what I like about it more than anything else is the idea that you can synthesize from different traditions and different kinds of practices. And I think earlier you said something about having a modernist attitude towards this, right? And
right.
Basically the idea that you want to strip something of its context, I mean, not to put it as crudely as that, but to be able to reorganize the way you receive knowledge from different places in a way that's appropriate to what you need at this point in time. Making tools out of things, not
right, exactly. Like, so like in modernist cooking, for example, like that, like, if you this information is not entirely accurate, but like, say if you keep a egg in I don't know 67-degree water for half an hour, it'll come out as a perfect sphere, right? It won't be an egg shape, it'll be a sphere because of the physics of it and all that stuff. So it's not from Italian cooking or French cooking or Chinese cooking or whatever. You can just take, yes, the Chinese do have certain methods, and the French have a particular way of method, and you just understand those methods, what the effects are, and then you combine it to do whatever you want.
Right. So that's an interesting approach to meditation, because our attitude, I think, to meditation in most cases is it's very singular. You don't think, like, usually you do one type of meditation. Nobody comes and says, let's do 5 types of meditation, right? And personally, what I find really exciting about whatever we are about to do today is that there are different ways of being meditative. And let's just explore what kinds of meditativeness it places us in. And that's what I'm really excited about trying with you. So yeah, I'll leave it to you to sort of take us on that journey, and we can come back to chatting about it intermittently every now and then.
Right. I'm sorry, I'm having also a few problems with my internet connection, which I hope can. So some of your words got garbled there, but I imagine you're saying that we should start with a meditation, maybe? Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
That's the speaker view, so that we don't have to maybe mute myself, so you don't have extra noise. Hold on.
Okay.
Go on.
So I thought with this, I'm going to just give a little bit more introduction. And for those of you who are listening, I would invite you to try this stuff, right? It's much more effective if you try it and you feel it, and then you can relate with it. So and I'm going to try to keep it simple, so we don't have to maybe even get up, and we understand it in its simplest form, right? So from to go into a meditative state, right? Meditation can be an intimidating word to some people, and it's not so easy to go into for some people. At a very simple, at a simple level, meditation is just being present, right? At the most simple level. And so, how do you be present? The tools we have for being present is our body and our senses. So our mind is the Buddhism calls it the sixth sense, but it's different from the other senses. Is in that the mind can take us into the past, into the future. It can it's kind of a way to travel away from the here and now, right? So getting yourself in your body or engaging with any of the senses is automatically takes you into the here and now. You can't, for example, smell something which is in the future, or smell something which is in the past. You can smell what you can smell around you at this moment, right? So at a basic level, if you can use that, you can go into being in the present, and then you can start exploring what meditation is. But simply being in the present is a big part of the journey, right? The other aspects are being there without judgment and things like that. But let's just think of being present. So let's just start a little exercise, which is, what is the easiest way to be present, right? There's lots of subtler ways of being present. and observing more like subtle sensations in your body and stuff. But the one thing which can get you into the here and now in the least subtle way possible could be, say, touch and even, quite maybe even to pain. So we're going to understand what is pain and how can pain start, the sensation of pain, which are kind of these more emergency receptors, the pain receptors in your body. Really, it doesn't want to be ignored, right? So you have to get to here and now. So we're going to do a little exercise around just feeling yourself, right? Feeling your body. And how we're going to do that is just by starting to feel ourselves, right? So let's just start with our hands. We'll take I'm taking my left hand, and I'm just going to start just touching myself, massaging myself on my hands, and try to do it a little bit hard. Okay, so you want to not be able to not ignore it. So can you massage yourself? You're starting from my little finger of my left hand, and I'm kind of feeling there's a connection. You can feel some bones which connect from your little finger down to your wrist, and from your wrist you can feel the bone of your forearm. You can feel some muscles, and simply follow that kind of line through your arm, up to your armpits and shoulders, maybe even up to your neck, and just go to your neck, and then start off with the next hand, next finger, the ring finger, and we'll simply work our way through this.
Is this, are we touching ourselves in any particular way?
You're just touching yourself to just feel like, okay, what does it feel like to be touched? Mm. And as we're doing this, you can start moving your awareness from the person who's touching, which is your right hand is touching your left arm, to the sensation of being touched, right? So let's just be aware of this. So at some point, maybe you can even imagine that you are not touching yourself as you're going down this. You are not touching yourself, you are being touched. So now your awareness, your attention is on the feeling in your forearm, in your palm, in your elbow as you go through. What does that feel like? How do your muscles feel? How does your bone feel? Can you grip yourself? Is there some pain at certain points? Also, what feels nice? Is there a certain point where you feel like lingering? Maybe you want to go in some circles where it feels good. There might be a sensation of pleasure, sensation of pain. Just feel yourself. Just going to go through feeling ourselves, coming from the periphery of the fingers and moving towards your spine, towards your core. As you work yourself, index finger, just try to make it feel good for yourself. And once you're done with one arm, just stop and just observe. Take your time and then observe what it feels like once you're done with one arm. Maybe just feel your body and feel what does it feel like in your left arm versus your right arm. Now that you've touched yourself in your left arm and you've been touching yourself with your right hand, if you just wait for a moment before you go on to the next hand, perhaps you feel something which might be described as a flow of awareness in one arm and a different flow of awareness in the other arm. Just take a few moments to be with that sensation, and then you can reverse, starting with your right little finger now, and slowly massaging yourself, feeling yourself up the arm, through the shoulders, and just following whatever line you feel is like, some kind of natural, intuitive line where you want to follow. It doesn't have to be anatomically perfectly accurate or anything like that. And moving between the doer, which is the left hand in this case, doing the pressing, doing the touching, to the receiver, which is enjoying the benefits of this touch. Or simply just, yeah, just the feeling of it. It need not necessarily be beneficial. It's just the sensation, just feeling yourself. And once you're done, you can just, place your palms on your knees or on a table or whatever is comfortable, where you can just relax and feel. Perhaps what is the effect of this? Do you feel a little bit more present? Do you feel your body?
And it feels quite unusual actually, because you're not used to this kind of interaction with your body, which is deliberate and not necessarily, which is like conscious and focused on the act of like feeling your skin and touching it and interacting.
Right. So this is it's very basic, and it's deliberately so. It's like just as a okay, you might not feel it, or it might not be so easy to be aware of it, but there is a difference, potentially in the state that you were before you did this and after you do this. This is kind of paving the way of moving into the present, right?
Mm-hmm.
Collecting yourself, gathering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we go on to a different meditation, or do you have any questions, Badri? How do you?
I don't have any questions right now. Right now, we can just keep moving on to the next form. Move into more subtle areas, like breath-related ideas. I'm excited about that. But yeah, I'll let you go on.
Right. Okay. So, maybe we can continue with this idea of I introduced this idea of a kind of doer and receiver, giver and receiver, where you are playing the roles of both giver and receiver, and eventually within meditation. The highest form of meditation, I can see this studying different forms, such as in yoga, there's called something called sahaja yoga or easy yoga, where there is no prescribed sequence of asanas or anything you do necessarily. You spontaneously move into things, right? Where you have no intention, and it's almost no doer. You are being done through. There's these kind of metaphors which are used in qigong. There's something called spontaneous qigong. In meditation, as you move into more advanced levels of meditation, the instructions become less and less, and eventually will it might be as simple as go inside and surrender, something of that level, right? And that is a very high level of instruction. So I guess the game or the play here is into where you do less and less kind of less and less doing and more receiving, and then the doing happens by itself. If that's not too esoteric, right? That's the kind of.
It doesn't sound esoteric at all, actually. Because the philosophical point I take away from that is that action should imply itself. You don't want it to be conscious. You don't want it to be effortful, as the opposite of effortless, and you don't want
Right.
it, more importantly. So it's interesting to. I'd love to come in contact with that. So I'm excited to see where you take us next. Because I go on.
Yeah. Sorry, there's some buffering which was happening. Okay, so I guess let's do the next exercise with our breath, okay, and see how that works. So there's also the breath is again a very common thread across different meditation techniques and body awareness, mind body techniques. And the reason for that, which most of us probably are familiar with, is the breath is kind of a dialogue between the inside and the outside, right? So I would invite you to move your awareness to your breathing. And the easiest way to do that is to, we can close your eyes. That might help you to have more of an internal awareness. And just observe your breathing. Now, as we talk about this, we don't want to change our breathing. You might recognize that the act of awareness might have its own transformative effect, but that's that's a side effect. Right now, all you're doing is aware of the breath going in and the breath going out. So let your awareness come to your nostrils. And as you inhale, you can feel the cooler air entering your nostrils. And as you exhale, you can sense a warmer air leaving your nostrils. So it's a very physical sensation of the breath going in, maybe tickling the nose hairs a little bit. And the breath turning out. As you're doing this, try to become aware of the entire length of the nasal passage. The part which is nearer the outside, which is the nostrils, closer to the upper lip, where the air enters. And then the part towards the bridge of the nose, the top of the nose. Let your awareness go to that point, the higher up point. 2 points to be more precise, on the left nostril and the right nostril. You feel like you can get your awareness to stay higher up in the nose towards the bridge. Become aware of that now, the top of this point, like a cross section, the circular cross section there. And the cooler air being inhaled through that cross section. and being exhaled out of those two circular cross sections. You'll also notice that if you keep following the breath back from that point, the breath takes a sort of U-turn to make its way down your throat. From the back of the mouth, down into your throat, on its way to the lungs. So what we're doing now is trying to move that awareness of the cool air going in and the warm air coming out into the throat, into some points in the throat. Stay with the actual physical sensation. Don't imagine it. So wherever you can go, if you can't go for back in the throat, it's okay. Just the important thing is to be with the physical sensation. If you can, see how far you can follow it down. Can you feel it at the back of the throat, nearer the mouth? Can you follow it even lower, down towards the base of the throat, where your throat meets the top of your sternum? Cool air percolating into your lungs. Warm air percolating out. The warm air is more of a release, I would say, than a percolation, just a release, a relaxation outward. Finish your last couple of cycles of breath. Then you can open your eyes and we can move back to conversation. But before we do that, just after you finish leave your awareness of breath and just feel how you're feeling.
I found that quite interesting, Qusai. This main reason is, I mean, it has been quite for the last, now I don't even know how many other days, but somehow it's been a while since I've had this kind of quiet, in the middle of all of that, because even the kind of silence that I've had predominantly feels pretty noisy in comparison, and it's odd and interesting how easily breath brings you back to that in some form or the other.
Right. Yeah, and there's a danger, I think, Badri, of us doing this also, because it's putting me in also a very quiet state. So it's not necessarily, a lubricant for conversation because it's kind of internal moving. So, I know we have about 10 minutes more, and we can, you could go deeper with this breathing. And also there's a certain, there's a metaphorical beauty in this breath because, again, quite literally, the molecules of air which we are breathing in and giving out, I think I think it's like something like a year or something like that. Like you literally exchange molecules with like every human on the planet, like this oxygen and carbon dioxide and all that stuff is literally going into everyone's lungs and coming out, and with the weather patterns and stuff, like someone did a study, it literally like goes into everyone's lungs and yours, right? So it's a real connection. Some cultures acknowledge that. So in things like in Hawaii, they say aloha, which I think literally translates to pleased to share breath with you, something of that nature, right? And that's what we're doing. So it's a nice way of connecting with everyone also as you connect with yourself, and this inside and outside.
I wonder whether it's pleased to share breath with you because breath is also fundamental to exchange and speaking. You can't have sound and music and words without breath.
Right.
Another dimension to it. This is interesting. So can I suggest for the next stage of our exploration, we move in the direction of something more activating, a different kind of breath, which leaves us in a state of, I don't want to say like sharpness, as opposed to, the stage you want to be at before you go to sleep. So I remember you taught me holotropic breathing once, and we've spoken about a bunch of other types of breathing. Shall we try something a little more activating? I remember we've also tried some tapping and other kinds of things. So I'm not even sure whether to mention anything because I don't know what's in your program.
Right. Well, what I was thinking of doing was just moving to another sense. As we talked about. Kind of this using your senses, which if you think about our senses, they are a way of us getting information about the world outside, right? And it's this kind of external orientation. The senses can also be used to turn your gaze inward. BKS Iyengar, who's an inspiration for me in my yoga practice, and whose methods I've learned and follow. He talked about yoga being an involution of the senses, right? A turning inward of the senses. Maybe we can try a little exercise, which is going inside and then coming outside while being rooted inside to balance this kind of internal and external. I think that could be a nice exercise to open us for a conversation. And also, since we're going to be talking about the environment and stuff, my belief is that you kind of have to understand yourself and learn to find some happiness and grounding within yourself to be able to effectively have good interactions with others and with the environment, to have that, right? And all those three are very linked. So let's experiment with this of going in, since we're, I think, already in somewhat of a quiet state, and see if we can come out while holding that quietness and see what happens.
Sure.
Yeah. So for the next exercise, we'll be working with our sense of sight. So I'll invite you to close your eyes, everyone. I will as well. And follow my instructions. So, in our kind of visual culture and the modern world, our eyes are maybe 60 or 70%, if I remember right. The research shows that in terms of our brain width, kind of the bandwidth in our brain that we are using towards the different senses, 60 to 70% of our awareness is dedicated to the eyes. And in terms of the eyes are the most grasping of the senses. So if you think of the other senses like hearing, like sound waves come from other sources, and they literally, through your ear pinna and then your ear canal, they hit your eardrum, and they are you receive sound, right? You can't go and grasp a particular sound. The sound which has to come to you will enter your ears, and it will come. Eyes are kind of different like that. Your eyes can dart from a place to place. It can move, look closely, blur out its vision. There's a lot of capacity in our eyes. So this is kind of what we're going to explore. And we'll kind of continue where we left off. So move your attention back to your breath. Feel the cool air going in. Feel the warm air coming out. And then move your attention to your eyeballs. So your eyeballs are these circular things which sit in this fluid, which allows it to kind of move in its socket. What we're going to try to do now is just let those eyeballs completely relax. Let the muscles which control the movement of the eyeballs completely relax. And let the eyeballs float in that fluid which is in the sockets. So your eyeballs are these two spheres which are just floating in their sockets. They're loose and relaxed. Just rest and relax your eyeballs, resting and floating in their sockets. Now combine this awareness of your eyeballs with an awareness of your breathing. And particularly in the part of the eyes which are close to the nose, close to where the breathing is happening. Feel the breath in the eyeballs, especially this bottom of the eyeballs, as the sensation of a breeze. So as you inhale, there's this cooler breeze. As you exhale, there's this warmer breeze moving in the opposite direction. If you can relax your eyeballs and let them just float in your socket, because of the connection of your eyeballs to your awareness, and especially to the kind of frontal lobe of your brain, the more human, analytical part of your brain, if you can relax your eyeballs, notice how thoughts of the past or the future do not arise. In fact, when your thoughts jump into the past or the future, into some other place, there will be a corresponding twitch jump in your eyeballs. So If you keep your eyeballs still, your mind will be in the here and now. Now, what tends to move these eyeballs, in fact, can be just in the breath. So this breeze of the breath can stimulate the eyeballs and then can therefore stimulate jumping thoughts. So especially in the inhalation, try to breathe very carefully. The cool breeze, can you make that breeze very steady, slow, and even? Breathe in a way not to disturb the relaxation and the quietude of the eyeballs. The inhalation is charging, this breeze is charging, can make you activate. And the breath tread very carefully as if tiptoeing past the eyeballs. The in-breath. The out-breath, on the other hand, can just be relaxed and released because the out-breath releases tension. So any accumulated tension, bubbling, which is in the eyeballs, can be released with the exhalation. Careful, cool inhalation. Relaxed, loose exhalation. Keep your attention, awareness in the eyeballs, relaxed awareness. Now, as we end this particular meditation, we're going to very, very slowly see if we can open our eyelids just like a degree, a millimeter at a time, without focusing on anything. So can you open your eyes very slowly, taking 30 seconds, maybe or a minute to open your eyes. First only a crack. And once it opens a crack, can you again let it relax? You're relaxing it in the eye sockets. Feeling those floating eyeballs still. And can your eyes behave like your ears? So it's not really grasping any object. It's not making any story. It's like your ears just listening. Stay with this open-eyed, looking, without making any without giving words to what you're seeing. Simply letting the light rays enter your eyes. So this is a technique actually in Zazen, which is a sitting meditation Japanese style. It's an open-eyed meditation. So you keep your eyes open. Perhaps it's a little more connected to the martial arts and stuff where you develop this relaxed awareness and alertness. So you're completely aware of what's happening around you, but at the same time, your mind is quiet. So that's kind of what I'd like to end with.
It's very interesting. I mean, it's obviously a very poor way of expressing what that experience was about. It's been a while since I looked at something like this, but I almost found myself, as you were asking us to open our eyes, to avoid any objects of familiarity. And when I did land up on something on my screen, the task of meaning making is almost inevitable. It's like your brain is jumping to make a conclusion about what's in front of you, you know? And sort of changing your relationship with your eyes while doing that allows you to be more non-judgmental than you would be in a certain to a certain extent, because I'm not in a hurry to make meaning of what is before me. And often we come in the way of our understanding of the world, right? So this is a nice way of quietening down the urgency to make meaning. I can't say it's disappeared, obviously. But because so it's about 7:50 right now, and I have one or two questions from Shan on our live chat. So today we traversed three kinds of sensations. We traversed this idea of touch, and there's a lot of feeling yourself, which is a little hard to concentrate through. Then there's this idea of working with breath, and now this idea of working with sight, right? So Shan's question is about whether your relationship with touch is, whether it's any different from a massage, you know. Is a massage, I mean, I suppose it comes down to whether a massage is a matter of repairing your body or working on your body, as opposed to here just working on the idea of sensation. Do you think that there's a qualitative difference in your approach to both of them? And the second question he asks is about not so much about your relationship with smell or touch or breath with the present, but say with smell and the past, for instance, right? Like you walk into a particular place. And I remember reading that the Nobel Prize, I think about a decade ago, was about understanding the olfactory sense and the closeness of the olfactory sense to your brain. So the fact that your sense of smell and your sense of memory is very, very tightly linked to each other is something that's that's worth mulling over. You know, just as
that's kind of some Proust in his Remembrance of Things Past talks about the smell of his grandmother's madeleines or something like that. There's some baked goods. And you know that's a big part of the book, that sensation of and the connection of smell to memory. So yeah, it's there in literature for a long time, and it is intimately tied with, I think, our reptilian brain, the oldest part of our brain. Yes, smelling is kind of our most primitive sense, you know, potentially.
No, I wonder whether we smell things first or touch things first. I mean, as early men who are encountering species for the first time. But I feel like there are people who are far more competent than just you and me who participate in that conversation. I see that our other panelists are here, so slowly I'm going to unmute them.
Right.
And ask them.
And you want me to take the question about the massage and the kind of
for sure.
I mean, this is my understanding that I've come to is that eventually what we've been working with is awareness, essentially. So we're moving our awareness from touch to breath, you know, to within our nasal passages and then to our eyes, and simply awareness. Applying awareness and just bringing awareness awakens some kind of intrinsic intelligence which is within us, which is not a mental intelligence. It's like an innate intelligence. It's a kind of the intelligence which will, allow our body to organize from being kind of a sperm and an egg during conception to becoming, what we become as we grow and stuff like that. So there's a certain kind of primal intelligence, awareness, and once it goes into the places, so with massage also, it can stimulate just being aware of those parts of the body in different ways. Sometimes it's pain, sometimes it's just feeling yourself completely. And then here we use the breath to go inward, but we could also use the breath to expand our awareness outward, and eventually, you are connected to everyone and everything, and that especially when you're in nature and stuff like that, you can feel it. You can feel your connection to everything. So as we move from beings whose awareness, if you just at the beginning close your eyes and where are you, locate yourself in your body. You might say, most people might say that it's somewhere behind the eyes, in this part of the head. This is where you as Badri exist. And as you move through these, that sense of yourself can maybe dissolve, percolate, move into your body, and then move beyond, towards others and towards the environment and nature, and have a true kind of meeting in that way.
It's interesting that you say that. This now you said something about how this is also tied with the way we relate to nature. Do you want to say something more about that? When we started this meditation, you promised us that we would be in a position to reorient ourselves with the world of nature. So is there something you want to say in that?
Yeah, I think that so, as we started, is that you connect with yourself, and then as we did that exercise with our eyes, I feel it's when you start opening and looking at things, not without labeling initially, or like, say, for example, if I look at a tree or I look at a leaf, and there's part of me saying, okay, this is this kind of tree, this is this leaf, this is this vein pattern, or this leaf is good for this, it's edible, or it's poisonous, or it's medicinal, etc. Fun prior to all these, eventually all these meditation practices are for me to dissolve separation between self and other, or not self, basically. And I think to be able to commune with nature and feel these, nature as just another being, and as a kind of continuum from yourself, eventually, right? It's where we came from, and we are part of it. I think there's one of the Upanishads, I'm forgetting which one exactly, and it's from a text on Ayurveda, which says that as the essence of the tree is in the seed, and the essence of the essence of the forest is in the tree, and the essence of the tree is in the seed. Therefore, also the essence of the human is in the plant. And from an evolutionary perspective, you could consider that our nervous system as humans is kind of like a prototype of a prototypical tree, you could say, right? With a spine as a trunk, and then we have a crown, and we have roots and as a nervous system and stuff like that, right? And people have communed with these kind of plants and we do it with using plants all the time, coffee or other plant, all sorts of plant medicines, to start modulating our nervous system and how we see the world, right? And then it changes our senses and kind of how we respond to that. So I think this kind of non-judgmental first, just kind of seeing and feeling and feeling as a continuum, we are of it, we are, and it is part of us, is how I feel.
I think, that's a good place to begin. Okay, now I have to ask our panelists to turn their video on, because this is probably a good time to invite others onto the conversation as well. Abhay, Jyothy, Sheeba, hi. You can see Sheeba here. Abhayraj is here as well.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Jyothy is here, but also not here. I'm not very sure what's happening. Jyothy, can you check if your audio is connected? It's possible that it's not yet. Hi. Okay. So you can see everyone now. So, I thought this is a good point of departure. So I know you've all tuned into the last part of this conversation. The conversation around, so I was just thinking as I was, Jyothy is here, but also not here. I don't know why I can hear myself. So what's happening? Jyothy, can you check if your audio is connected? It's possible that it's not. Speaking. Hi. Okay. So you can see it. One sec. Hold on. So I thought this is a good point of departure. So I know you've all tuned into the last part of this conversation. The conversation around. So I was just thinking as I was. Jyothy is here, but also not here. No, I can hear what's happening. It looks like audio. Can you check if your audio is connected? It's possible that it's not. Speaking. Hi. Okay.
Badri, I can hear Jyothy, so I think I can hear everyone.
So I thought this is a good point of departure. So I know you've all tuned into the last part of this conversation. The conversation around. So I was just thinking as I was. Jyothy is here, but also not here. No, I can hear. It looks like audio. Can you check if your audio is connected? It's possible that it's not. Speaking. Hi. Okay.
Badri, I can hear Jyothy, so I think I can hear everyone.
So I thought this is a good point of departure. So I know you've all tuned into the last. So weird. Give us a moment. We're just launching.
So we're not live right now, Badri?
Not yet. We are just going back. Give us a moment. We're just launching.
Where are the rest of you guys? We're not live right now, Badri?
Not yet. We are just going back. Give us a moment. We're just launching.
Where are the rest of you guys? We're not live right now, Badri?
Not yet. We are just going back.